Hi, Andy XL back with another podcast looking at the Premier League, and this is going to be a preview of week one's games and who I think will come out on top in those games. It's going to be pretty quick fire this, so I'm not going to mess about in terms of wasting time on each game too much. So, the Premier League swings back into action this weekend after a summer of World Cup action and a hectic and ongoing off-season of transfer action. Which teams can get off to a winning start and who will suffer defeat in their opening games? So, without any further delay, here are my predictions for game week one. The season kicks off on a Friday night with the reigning champions hosting one of the teams promoted to the Premier League from the Championship. That's Arsenal v Coventry City. In the last 5 seasons, newly promoted teams have won 5, drawn 2, and lost 8 of their opening games. But those who started away from home have lost all 4 of those opening games. Coventry face the toughest of assignments, even against an Arsenal team that is not at full strength, as some of their main players are playing in limited minutes or not at all, following their World Cup exploits and strenuous efforts of last season. Even so, the power and depth of this Arsenal squad was on display as they beat Man City 3-0 in the Community Shield last week and are rightly very strong favourites to get off to a winning start in defence of their title. Those four newly promoted teams that started away from home lost their 4 games by an aggregate of 10 goals to 1, and Coventry will surely suffer a similar fate here. So Arsenal to cruise to a 3-0 win on opening night. On to Hull City v Manchester United, which is the lunchtime Saturday game that sees another of the newly promoted teams meet a United team that improved markedly under Michael Carrick during the second half of last season. Going back to that record of newly promoted teams, those that have started with a home game have won 5 times, drawn 2, and lost 4, with an aggregate score of 14 apiece between the promoted teams and their opponents. Hull are my favourites to finish bottom of the Premier League this season, but will have the support of a home crowd that will be at fever pitch ahead of this game, I should say. I'm hopeful they can match the exploits of Sunderland, who came up via the playoffs this previous season, as Hull did in the last season. As a result, this will be no easy game for United, but they should have enough to get a win here, just. So I'm going to take United to win at Hull by 2 goals to 1. On to Everton versus Crystal Palace. Everton and Palace both finished badly last season, having identical records across their last 8 games, where they garnered just 6 points apiece. Everton look to have a pretty settled lineup and a sturdy defence, whereas Palace has lost Maxence Lacroix and are struggling to hold on to some of their other better players. Everton do have injury issues at the heart of their midfield for this game, but I think their robust defence will be able to keep Palace at bay and find a way to get the goals they need to get off to a winning start here. Everton to win this one 2-0. On to Ipswich v Sunderland. Sunderland won a surprise package of last season, but many have them regressing into a relegation battle in their second season back in the Premier League. Whilst this is not an opinion I share, an away trip to Ipswich will be a tricky old start for them. Buoyed by what could be some astute additions, I think Ipswich could be the best of the 3 promoted teams this coming season. And with newly promoted teams winning home games, sorry, winning more home first games than they lose, Ipswich could well come out on top here. I'm going to take them to win a high scoring thriller of a game by 3 goals to 2. So Ipswich 3, Sunderland 2. Nottingham Forest v Leeds United. These are two teams both teams I think could improve on last season and both be set for top half finishes. And with both teams keen to get off to winning starts, this could be another exciting watch. But I will say it ends up in a share of the points. Notts Forest 1, Leeds United 1 is my prediction here. Brentford versus Tottenham is the Saturday evening early game that sees a London derby between the perennially underestimated Brentford and a Spurs team that spent heavily after a second successive 17th place finish. Brentford will field a similar lineup to that of last season, where they finished ninth, whereas free spending Tottenham will look a fair deal different to the team that struggled for most of last season. Spurs have showed promise in their pre-season games, so this should be another close contest. These are two more teams I think may finish between 6th and 10th come the end of the season, so I think this could end up in a share of the spoils. Brentford 2, Tottenham 2 is my prediction. Brighton versus Aston Villa. On to Sunday's games now, and Brighton meet Villa in an 8 v 4 matchup from last season. Villa have lost Ezri Konsa, Yuri Tielemans and Morgan Rogers from last season and will also be without Amadou Onana for some time. Those are significant losses, and whilst Villa put up a great showing in their recent Super Cup meeting with PSG, those losses could well take a toll on them through this Premier League campaign. Going to Brighton will be a difficult assignment for Villa, and these could be teams that struggle for goals early this season, and they may both struggle to match their excellent performances of last season. So guess what? I'm going for another draw here. Brighton 1, Aston Villa 1. On to Man City v Bournemouth. Bournemouth did miraculously well to finish sixth under Andoni Iraola last season, and as a result are struggling to hold on to their better players. City are another team transitioning as they enter the post-Pep era, and that is particularly the case in central midfield after Rodri's departure. The Cherries have a lengthy injury list ahead of this game, and don't be put off by City's loss to Arsenal in the Community Shield, as they will surely have too much for a Bournemouth team that could be set for a season of comparative struggle this year. So I'm going to take City to win this with room to spare by 3-0. Newcastle v Liverpool is the later Sunday game. It's a matchup that has provided some great games in past seasons. Both teams will be under new management, but Newcastle have had the heart of their midfield ripped out in the shape of Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali, and it may well take time for the new midfield unit to come together, and they'll be without Joelinton for this game as well. Liverpool have had a poor season for them last season and should be better this coming campaign, but now may not be at full power until around the Christmas time in terms of their attack. I think Liverpool will outmatch Newcastle in midfield here due to the newly formed midfield for the tune and them being without Joelinton. And I think that will be just enough for them to edge this one. Liverpool to win 2-1 at Newcastle. Finally, on to Fulham v Chelsea, which is the Monday night London derby that rounds out game week 1. Chelsea have been highly active in the transfer market and been in great form in their pre-season games. Fulham have made some nice additions too, but have also lost Harry Wilson. Both teams may take time to find their best form as the new lineups take shape, and Chelsea may be inconsistent, but they could carry their strong pre-season form into this game, and if they do, could well run out very impressive winners here. I think Chelsea might get off to a very strong start to this season, and I'm going to take them to possibly they be the most impressive winners of week 1, as they win 4-1 at Fulham is my bold prediction. So they're my predictions for game week 1. I'll come back and tell you how I did this week when I preview game week 2. See you later.